Let's go ahead and get started here. Again, I'll introduce myself. I'm Bill Pierce with the Widener University SBDC. You're here today to join us for the Find Your Best Import-Export Markets through market research. Our guest speaker is Rufia Blank from Kompass North America, who will talk about a really good tool that's Widener's has subscribed to assist you with your market research for your import-export businesses. The tool is very good in terms of not only helping you find new import-export markets, but also expand import-export markets that you're currently in. So we look forward to speaking. Caitlin Martinez and James Green from Widener University are also on the line with us. Caitlin will be talking at the end about the intake process. Please feel free to raise your hand as we go through. Rufia actually will be available to do live searches and show how the tool works for your specific case as we get closer to the end of the presentation. And of course, we will be taking questions as we go through. So you can either raise your hand on the raise your hand box, or you can put something in the chat box, and we'll open it up. We don't have too many people on. We have enough, but we don't have too many people that we couldn't actually even turn on all the mics and do it that way as we get to the end of the session. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, welcome to the presentation, and we hope that by the time we're done, you'll see the value of the Kompass tool in terms of helping your company be more effective in the import-export activities. All right, I always do that wrong. A little bit about Widener University SBDC. We are here to help businesses get started, grow, and prosper, and even sometimes exit. I just helped a client with an exit the last month who had wanted to retire, and they weren't quite sure how to do that, and they were able to pull that off and set themselves up pretty well for their retirement. We do this in two forms. One is consulting, which is at no cost. I always like to say free, but I guess no cost is the right word, and confidential. Nothing that you share with us gets shared with anybody else. And then we all provide educational programs like the program today. If you're interested in additional programs, you can always go on the state website at www.pasbdc.org. And you'll see there's usually 3 to 4 sessions a day during weekdays in a variety of different topics that can help you and your business. We're funded through the SBA. We are a resource support organization for the SBA. The SBA has a lot of involvement with the government, as well as providing funding, as they did during the COVID sessions, but they really don't have the capabilities to support organizations. So groups like Widener University SBDC, SCORE, in the local area, both provide resources directly to our small businesses in terms of education, consulting, as I mentioned earlier. We are also funded by the PA Department of Community and Economic Development, the PA Department of Environmental Protection, PREP, and of course, Widener University. We have many programs in specific areas. PTAC is one of the programs we have for those interested in doing business with the government. We can assist you in getting that set up and being effective at it. We actually have probably one of the top 10 people in the country in government sourcing available to help you. So we have an excellent group there. We are the EMAP center for the state of Pennsylvania. So if you buy a property that may have environmental issues, we can help with how to get that taken care of and the programs that are available to assist you. We are an SBDC Next Gen Lab, so we're constantly looking for new ways to provide education. And we are declared a center of excellence for health and life science, as well as Latino businesses in the local communities. Pretty good staff. You'll see some pretty handsome people there. We're here to help. We also have a large group of graduate students that are there to also provide assistance. In the case of Caitlin, she'll be there to assist with intake for the market research we're going to talk about. And James is there to help us do really good work on sessions like today. So let's get into this a little bit. I just want to kind of spend about 10, 12 minutes on the importance of market research if you're in import-export. One of the very first things you have to ask yourself if you're looking to import-export is, do you understand the market you're going into? And key questions are things like, is the market growing? Going into import-export market that's not growing isn't necessarily a problem. It could be your product or service is differentiated, and therefore it would be accepted, and it would be a growth for you. But growing markets really provide a lot of opportunity, and you really should make sure you understand what the growth situation is in the market you're going into. Are there barriers to entry? As many of you know, if you watch the news, a lot of things going on in China, and there's things that are made elsewhere that China is no longer allowing to be brought into the country, like Facebook as an example. Google's another example that you cannot take into the country. And there's a lot of issues with data sharing now that's going to make that difficult. It's highly publicized for China, but it's actually true in many parts of the world. In the Middle East, packaging is a really big issue. Culturally in the Middle East, people do not like to see other people's faces on packaging. So if you're packaging something that would have a face or a body image on it, if you were marketing in the Middle East, that would not be accepted, and you would have to repackage in a way that's more acceptable there. So there's a lot of different things you have to take into account. There are things like duties. There are other trade limitations, which can be very difficult if you're doing products that have a shelf life. I always tell the story that my wife, who was Chinese, had set up a business, and she was actually exporting cosmetics from the U.S. back to China, and not anything bad, but when she was doing some shipping around Christmas time, we had packed everything up, we had shipped it off, and because of the holidays, it got hung up in Hong Kong. And I think everybody realizes Hong Kong's much warmer than it is here in the US at Christmas time. And by the time the cosmetics made it to her clients, they were all melted. So there are things that do happen, and you have to make sure you understand how to work through those things. There's considerations also that you have to take into account, like climate. Selling winter coats in Singapore may be trendy, but it's not going to be a sustainable business. As with selling certain things in colder climates. Shipping, which I've mentioned. Socioeconomic considerations like the situation with packaging in the Middle East that have to be taken into account. Affordability is a very interesting one. People can buy things, but they can't buy things they can't afford. May sound strange to say it that way, but that's true. So if you have something that's better than they can get themselves, but they can't afford it, they still won't buy it. And really, that's an important consideration. And one of the real learnings that could come out of what Rufy is going to talk about later is what is being sold elsewhere, and that will tell you a lot about whether your product or service can be done there. Culture, language, of course, currency. People do business in their own currency, and it can be a limitation to your export business if you're not capable of doing payment terms or currency the way the client wants to do that. And of course, as we've learned over the last 3 or 4 years, it's highly publicized. The political and legal environment does also affect your ability to export. And really what you have to do is take all these considerations and match them up with your product and service to find the right combination of not only where you want to go, but who you really want to do business with. Globalization considerations. This is, I'd be remiss not to talk about this, but if you're going to export, obviously in your marketing, you're going to have to recognize language and regionalisms, culture and buying process, communication, mobility. This picture on the right is a picture I love. This is in the Philippines, and the teachers are all up on the roof of the school building because they don't have the same 5G phone capability we have in the US. They probably have something closer to 2 to 3G. And in order to be able to do their Zoom sessions with their classes, they're actually up on the roof. And this is common throughout the world, that mobility and being able to do things on your phones is pretty important. A lot of places, tablets and laptops are not as common, and therefore you have to make sure that you can do your transactions through cell phones. And then product information becomes very important, especially in places where it's a new product. People will need to be educated. People in other parts of the world actually read instructions. Not that we do, but you'll have to have very clear instructions on how to properly use a product. I have another presentation I do when I talk about Gerber, when it first went into Africa, used its standard labeling, which was a cute little baby on the jar. And in Africa, it's very typical that what's on the labeling is a picture of what's in the jar. So imagine a housewife or mother in Africa taking a jar of Gerber baby food off and seeing the picture of the baby, where she'd be expecting to see the contents of what was inside the jar. So you have to make sure you provide the proper product information. Very true. The world wants many of the same things that we do. The things that we like here are desired throughout the world. Made in USA, by the way, is very strong throughout the world, but they just may want them in a different way, and you're going to have to recognize that. And that's why your market research is so important. Product differences. Again, I've talked about a couple of these, but a little bit more detail. One way to look at your product is a website, and I'll send this out to everybody as part of the follow-up package. But there is a website on the U.S. Commerce Service website called www.trade.gov, and you can actually go in and analyze your product and service for export, and it will give you a lot of information about what you need to do in your market research to understand how to move your, how to be able to import or export your product. But there's a lot of things you have to take into account. I've hit a lot of these. Country of origin is very important. There are places in the world that just don't get along, and you have to recognize that that may or may not work in those countries. I talked about instructions for use, very, very important. But understanding all these things through market research can really help you and help you decide whether or not you standardize or whether you adapt your product for export to specific markets. And here at the Widener University SBDC, we want to help you with your market research. So if you have market research questions, we're going to talk about at the end how we can help you get those defined and help you get that work done. I'm just going to hit on a couple things in this slide, but this is something as reference. But if you're going to do export work, one of the places you really want to start is defining your product within the realm of the import-export industry, which is what's called a Schedule B, or may be called a harmonic code. Both of these are used to classify your products and make sure that you understand the rules, regulations, tariffs, and everything else going into certain countries. The good news is once you have that, there's a lot of information that's available to you for free, in addition to what we're going to talk about today. But you have Trade Stats Express, you have US Trade Online, and the one I already mentioned, the US Commerce Service provides www.trade.gov. And on trade.gov, you can actually research 140 markets that they've defined using the embassies and the consulates in individual countries and regions. So there's a lot of good information that's available once you're able to define your product that you want to import or export. In addition, and what we're here to talk about today is that we can provide Kompass, and Rufia is going to walk you through that tool. And also you could actually go to local libraries and find some services that are available in your local community. So this is just kind of a way to go about research. But one of the things that we can certainly talk about, and I can help you with, is finding your Schedule B to make sure you understand the product you're going to import, export, and then where you can go to find the information. So this is kind of my last slide. You're going to want to have a plan. You're going to want to have an entry strategy to go into any country or any region. And I define those differently. There are regions that are set up that have common need. Southeast Asia, the ASEAN countries is one example. They have a common strategy for products coming into that region. Same is true, obviously, in Europe with the Euro community. The Caribbean operates much like a single entity, even though there's multiple countries there. So it could be a country or a region, but you want to have an entry strategy. And that starts with market research. You really got to make sure you evaluate research and you select markets that are going to provide you the potential. And from there, you move to create your plan. And I do a lot of sessions over the course of the year that will talk about how to go ahead and create that plan. But it all starts with your market research. Okay, so any questions at that point? James, anything come up there on the questions?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay. Well, then it's a good transition. I'm going to go over here now. And I'm going to go ahead and make Rufia, I'm going to make you the host. And I'm going to stop sharing. And let me introduce Rufia Blank with Kompass North America. She is our guest speaker for today. And she's going to talk to us about the Kompass tool. As I said, Widener University SBDC has subscribed to Kompass, and we aim to get that out into our business communities to assist our small businesses, whether they be doing import, export or not, in how to go about finding the right markets, finding the right people. It's a tremendous tool. So Rufia, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Do you hear me?
I do.
And do you see my screen?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much, Bill. You did great presentation. That's exactly the point why Kompass works with many SBDCs in United States. And we are very happy to work with Widener University SBDC now, because when customer come to me and asking how to start business or how to do just the beginning of a process, I always refer them to SBDC because it's a long-term partnership. I've been with Kompass in 2008. I left for a while. I worked for our competition. I came back, and the idea of helping small businesses, it's kind of what we do in every country. As Bill mentioned, you have to really do market analysis before you go anywhere. And with help of SBDCs or US Department of Commerce, who is also our partner for many years, that becomes easy. But you need to have tools, and Kompass is that tool. For 70 years in business of database, it's a little, your brand name just says that you've been doing something which is really helping businesses. People still asking me, it wasn't on my time, about Kompass books, because they were available in the library. It was black and red books with all the directory, and update was done only once or twice a year. But people still remember how to use these books because before internet, Kompass already existed. So I'm hoping that our conversation going to be interactive. We are totally supporting everything what SBDC do. We kind of additional tool which allows you to go and do in-depth research into the markets. In ideal world, you would see everything we have today, Google or Facebook, Instagram. But as Bill mentioned, when you go into foreign country, you have to consider their specifications. And this is one thing that Kompass can really help you with, because we, being a European company, we are very strict on regulations, particularly about how data shared, how we collect data, what is allowed and what is not. And particularly most important thing that we do have local offices, the same as US Department of Commerce, for example. And if my customers have questions, we always can address them. If something we don't know about legislation or regulations, we can always find additional information. So Bill talked about HS codes, which is very important when you start in shipping. And I do get this question a lot. Can I search by HS code on Kompass? Unfortunately, that is not available. There is another code also, which very much used, and each country has its own, it's SIC or NAICS codes. And also Kompass has our own codes. So technically you can search in any country. You don't have to go to local codes. You can search by Kompass codes, and that's what makes your international research much easier, because otherwise you have to go to each country separately and search by local classifications. But Kompass allows you to do, let's say, search in different continents at one time and do all the market study just by using our tool and using our classification, which is our proprietary. So we do have about 50,000 codes. The codes go from 2 to 7 digits, and we technically helping you to classify yourself, as Bill said, which is very important when you enter in the market. So we do have 70 years of expertise. So let's say a bit, you know, about our, how long we are in business. Also important that we know worldwide. So if you're using Kompass or if you advertise on Kompass, which is other part of our business, then people doing business with you internationally and you already on Kompass, it gives you possibility to be trusted supplier. So that's important, because we will go and do first search on Kompass, because Kompass is so very well known online. So today we're going to talk about our database for market research tool, but we do have other tools available international, which is also can be helpful. Okay, so what do we have today? Since last time I spoke with Bill, and today we already added 5 million companies. So that's wow. Yeah, that's funny how fast it's changed. And suddenly one country can disappear. That's also another question, because of political situation or something happened. Kompass is very active this way. So today we do have 59 million. I don't remember, Bill, if you remember, I did your last presentation, it was 53 million. So country didn't change in just how we just grew database in countries. We do have 65 million executive, 30 million phone numbers, and 19 million company executive emails. This is another question, very important when you do market research. You wanted to have database which covers technically everything, but also when you start your marketing campaign, that's important to know what you can do and what you cannot do in different countries. There's very strict regulations everywhere except United States. So even if you go to Canada, contacting somebody via email can be very costly, and we consult you on that. So when we're working and progressing after market research, we're going to create a list, etc., for particular industry or particular project. We always consult you if you have, if you can call company, you can email company, what email you can you use executive emails? We know what's going on in each country, and that I think very helpful for small businesses, because it allows you not to do mistakes. So who we are is just little overview. So of course, 70% of data is always small and medium businesses. And this is where we concentrated on. Whereas of course, public bodies, and we work very, very close with libraries, governmental institutions, because everybody needs access to good data. And 10% represent large companies, and we know that it's large companies always smaller percentage of any database. And just to give you overview, what's going to be represented. So we do have 18% manufacturing, which is pretty good. So when you're searching for suppliers, or you're searching for manufacturer, or you do market analysis, how many manufacturers already exist on the market, it's good to know that there is good coverage where we do have commerce, which is 21%. Construction, IT, it's 5%, 47% services, and it's not surprising because services represent bigger businesses in every possible country. And we will have administration and education. It's about 3%. It's not our main target. Our main target is export import. So you will have manufacturing and retailer or distributors, which will be a chunk of the data. So why is it easy business? Like say, why is it in use? Why it's for so many years? And the thing is that ideally, you would think it's easy today to get information. It's yes and no, because it's easy to get information, but not information which you need. And to do analysis or market analysis, you really need to have what you need before analyze your data. And technically, getting free resources today only available through SBDCs or US Department of Commerce. You cannot do it on your own on the internet. It's just time consuming. So technically, if you go use LinkedIn, you still have to pay for LinkedIn Navigator or other tools which is available. Again, going to LinkedIn, it's a little tricky because in other countries there is legislation, and if you contacting people directly, or if you sending mass email, it's tricky. You have to do a lot of homework before. So technically, I think that's why we work very well with SBDC, because they helping you to do your first steps, segment and analyze market. We work mostly with export department, marketing and sales department after analysis is done. And we also work with procurement department, which also changed a lot during COVID. As Bill was also mentioning, situation in China. Before US manufacturers, we didn't think about how everything was concentrated in China. And now everybody doing, for example, there's in manufacturing business, there is a lot of reshoring, the company coming back and bringing manufacturing back to United States. So you need to have local suppliers. I used to work before in chemical company, and I know we opened new manufacturing plant in Canada, and from France to Canada, the material of the same supplier of raw material for chemicals, but the consistency was different and composition was different. So when we started to produce our product in Canada, we saw the quality went down versus what we were producing in Europe. So you have to do all this research and try to find local suppliers, and Kompass can be used in that as well. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, chat them, and I'll try to answer everything possible. So technically ideal, you do analysis using Kompass, which you do market research. It has to be targeted. There's two questions about is targeted and segmentation, same thing. So we can do different, whole different event to talk about marketing internationally, but you have to target particular companies, and after you have to create engagement, and that's very important part where Kompass plays important role, because we will never allow you to, for example, do something which is not legal in certain countries. So for example, if American company will come to me and say, I want all the executive emails in Germany, we don't sell that. We offer different services in Germany. It's a very difficult market in order to email everybody. You will have a lot of legal issues. So we do have call centers where we provide advertising, which is very popular in Germany because you cannot email without permission. But we do help how to engage people, and SBDCs always know what to do in these cases. And of course, we all what we do is coming to the closure so that you successfully find your distributors or you find your market and you grow your business. So some information which is available on Kompass to do your market research. We technically always considered company data, never considered contact data. So a lot of, because of how United States doing business and everything is via email, when we approach different markets, particularly foreign markets, we don't think about it. But think about cheese manufacturer in France. Not all of them even have websites. I mean, it's changing, but with COVID, everything goes online, etc. But before, let's say a small wine manufacturer, small cheese manufacturer, they would not have web addresses. So technically, when you go into other country and you trying to search, if you only looking for emails, I think it's a wrong approach, because what you have to do analysis and see if you even can contact a company via email. So being a data business database company, we provide you all information, all the background on the company before you even make your first contact, because we don't want you make a mistake. So what will you know? You will have company size, you will have revenue, you will have generate figures, you can create all the graphics and statistics and market analysis. You will see, for example, how much competition you have or who can distribute your product. And basically you use your experience in one country and you apply it to different country. We also help in that to do, for example, if you're successful in one country and you want to go to a different country, we're trying to see if you can apply the same strategy to others. So through Kompass tool Easy Business, you can technically do all of that, and at the end you have what you need. You have your marketing analysis, you have a list of companies who you need to get in contact, and you sure, which is very important, that you're not doing anything illegal or that you are within legislation of this country. So there's three important part of Kompass offer. So we have very comprehensive database. We teach you how to use it. It's maybe looks a little bit more complicated at the beginning, but once you start using it, you see how it's created, that for 10-15 minutes you have what you want and you can download information as you want it. We do have filters to filter it, to clean it, to target, to segment your market. And of course, you create your customized access, how many users you need to the system, how many credits you need to do downloads. Do you want to have data in Excel or PDF? Do you use CRM? Do you want to have integration? All that is in the package. We discuss it with our customers. And of course, Bill and Caitlin, they will be able to help you by using our tool. And if you start with SBDC, we always help SBDC to find what we're looking for the customers. So just a few testimonials about. And as I said, we work with Illinois SBDC. Is been we have two southern Illinois and northern Illinois. We worked with them for many years. I think James Foley used Kompass when it was book, so he is really expert in his book. And for examine for NAICS, the Global Business Professional, you will have questions about Kompass or how to do research on Kompass, because it's so popular. Okay, so just some features. If you don't have questions, I'll go to more specific examples. No questions?
James, any questions?
Nope, no questions in the chat or the Q&A.
Bill,
Okay.
if you have questions, you can ask as well.
Okay, I will as we get a little further. I just hope everybody's thinking about their searches. I hope that everybody has the search that they want us to run when we get to the end of the session or get to the later in the session.
Right. So, so technically what you do, you identify your targets. I think there is one question there. You access company data, you customize how you want to export it, and you create your list. And I will show you live how you can do it. Maybe not all the features, but just some features. And of course, before you have to do research, you have to work with your consultant to knowing where you're going, what are you looking for? Are you a manufacturer looking for distributors, or you're looking for manufacturing company to get more products? So all that has to be done before and after we go into the system. And ideally, we don't spend more than 10-15 minutes to find what we need. It shouldn't be so complicated. And also one important thing, that you can create alerts. For example, if you're monitoring some market, you create search, you create your list, and you put alerts on that. So for example, if there is one company which is, or few companies which you want to monitor, they will let you know if executive change, if the address change, if they relocated. So that this type of alerts is every day on Kompass. As I do a lot of researches for my customers, and I have multiple lists. My day begins with alerts from Kompass, what happened, who changed their job, etc. I think this is very important, even though database is a little behind because of the pandemic. There was a lot of job losses, there was a lot of job changes. So that's important to know what's going on if you monitor some company and you want to be in contact with them, or even to have access to database which is good quality.
There is a question. Melissa asked what the fees are associated with the service. And that's a great question. You got to it earlier than we were going to talk about it, but I do want to answer this question now. And Rufia is going to kind of go through and it's good timing for this question. It is a free service through Widener for the searches that Rufia is going to explain now. There are going to be some limits because of the way the program and our subscription set up, but I think everything that she's going to go through will serve most of our clients' needs. So it is a free service, and this follow-up question is: can any business use this platform, or does it need to go through certain eligibility processes? There is no eligibility processes. We have an intake, and Caitlin Martinez, who's on the phone, is going to explain how we'll take the intake, and then we'll do the market research for you and generate a report and send it back. So it is no cost for the services that we can provide, and there is no certain eligibility. You can just make a request and we'll go through it. And in fact, you can make a request at the end of the session today, and you'll see exactly how that's going to work.
That's great. And that's why we're working with Bill and SBDC and Caitlin and James and many other locations. So what's important is that they allowing you to do for free what technically, of course, you have to have a subscription. So because they are funded through SBA and have funds, they have a subscription and they can do in-depth research for you and market study. For beginner companies who just want to go to particular market or to do exports, this is perfect scenario. Of course, we do have customers who come to us after, and because they have open whole markets in department and we want to have their own subscription. But your help is here. It's no charges, so please use it. So we discussed a couple searches before. So I did preparation because I wasn't sure how it's going to be live, but I'll try to show you live as well, because all these researches allows you right away to see how market is. For example, in one click, I will see how this particular search will be located in countries and what size of the companies are. And that's the beauty of having access to a research tool. So request here was shoe manufacturing companies in particular countries. So you can see here a list of countries. They are on all different continents. And that's what I talked about you can use Kompass classification. You don't have to go to each country and search for particular codes. You use Kompass classification, you use location, and I did combination by adding producer filter, which is also only available on Kompass. There's a lot of database provider there, but we don't have these filters. Of course, it's not 100% populated, but we do have filters which separate producers from distributors, exporters from importers. And I think in that particular case, with research for starting or market analysis for export, it's very important. Any comments, Bill?
No, I think, as I said, in responding to the question, we're very happy that we're able to pick up this subscription. I think it's a very valuable tool. I probably have run 20 or 30 searches now myself, and everybody that I send them out to is delighted. So it's a great tool, and I hope that through this session today we can get the word of mouth out there. And why don't you go ahead and go through a couple of the examples, and we'll let people actually ask us for searches.
Sure.
We can run those.
So that was the second example, which was done in North America. And we searched for particular surgical centers. There is NAICS code for that, so I didn't even have to use Kompass codes. If I'm searching in United States and Canada, I can use NAICS or SIC code as well. And because we're so used to that, I had a question about SIC code, which is very old, and technically NAICS code is supposed to replace it, but people still use SIC code, so we still keep it in the system. So if you use the SIC code, you can search as well. It's simple search combination, and I have my results. There's 21,000. And after I run a report, if you can see here how we located, so it tells me how many are in Canada, how many in United States. And after, we can also go by county, we can go by city, but we can go more in depth if the search is more local.
Yeah, and if you can go back that slide, Rufia, I'll kind of add some color here. So this was a query that was requested by one of our clients, and they have a product to support surgical centers, and they were considering exporting to Canada. And when we went through the data, they realized that surgical centers just simply are not the same thing in Canada as they are in the United States, and it's reflected here in the numbers. So once we went through and they understood that, now they've reoriented their strategy, and they're going to stay focused in the U.S. and they're going to look at other places for import export later. So in our vernacular, they made a no-go decision not to go to Canada because they can see that they wouldn't have the same audience that they were used to in the United States. So again, it wasn't what they wanted to hear, but it was really valuable information and very timely, so they didn't waste a lot of money going to Canada when they really wasn't going to be a great opportunity for them, the way they had to find surgical centers.
I had the same exact example with a company which provides video conferencing. We do work with hospitals in the United States, and it's a very big market, and they wanted to go to France with exactly the same market. And in France, all the hospitals owned by the government. So we couldn't have the same market in France, and we really also, it was no go, because as hospitals owned by governmental agencies, we don't want to work this way. We wanted to try private sector. So that was also analysis we did, and it helped them to spend a lot of money and lose them at the end because it's totally different market.
Very good.
So next was more local, I think, right,
Yep.
Bill? So we just looked for colleges and professional school in Lehigh County, and it gave us 57 companies, which is fine, you know, and so that was one of the easy search you can do. As I said, you can go to particular zip code even to do your search if needed. That was a little bit more complicated, because first of all, the country they requested, we don't have database. So that's another question which can happen. If Kompass doesn't have database in Ghana, it means that database in Ghana doesn't exist. So it doesn't mean you don't do business with Ghana, just you have to have a way to access information or work through embassy, etc. Because country which are in that political situation, or when political situation change, database cannot exist and it cannot be accurate, and it cannot be in the standards where you can have full information about companies. For years, we didn't have, for example, database in Russia. Now we do have million companies, but if you're doing business in African region, you will see that people share their cell phones non-stop. You will have free cell phone of CEO, which has no problem, but you will not have email. So you will just have to adapt to the local market via that. So I did dried fish, but I didn't have all the country requested. So I just ran the search with the tool, and it gave me right away location and how many company are. So technically it gives you right away possibility to see what is there available. Takes you 10-15 minutes. In case of SBDC will do it for you, and they will tell you go or not go. And that was another example. That was shipping services. I did search by Kompass classification. It was in Philadelphia County and Wilmington and Baltimore. And that wasn't complicated search. So it's technically 100 companies in Wilmington, 85 in Philadelphia, which numbers are really, I think it's real numbers you can see. So if you do see, for example, something is, we can also see if we're doing searching correctly, we will see that numbers don't match or they look weird. Okay, so talking to this is how is a business price, and if you decide to have your own subscription, you can always contact me, we can discuss. I do recommend to use SBDC because it doesn't cost you anything, and you can have examples of the searches. So you can ask me anything, and I will try to do some live searches now. So I'll just, this is my contact information. And I am sure Bill, Caitlin, and James will be your point of contact. You can contact me as well. I can answer any question. Is there any questions I missed before I go to live searches?
It does not seem like there are any other questions other than the ones that were already answered.
Rufia, I just want to reinforce a good point that you made, and this has come up for when I've done my work also. Not everywhere in the world is email the communication approach. There's still a lot of places in the world that when you do a Kompass search, you won't see emails, but you'll see phone numbers, and you'll find that quite strange. But in all honesty, there's a lot of places in the world that people do not necessarily use email for business purposes. They may use it for communication, but they don't use it for business, and that's why you'll find phone numbers. Now, if you have that situation, what I would recommend is, and if you wanted to reach that country or that company, what I would recommend is we then could tie you in with the U.S. Commerce Service, and through the embassy or somebody who speaks the local language, we could find a way to make that contact. So it's not always going to be direct. And again, a lot of it is cultural, that places in the world still do not use email for B2B business. And that's why you'll see phone numbers. So if you do a search and phone numbers come up, don't be disappointed. Don't think you have to learn to speak Uzbek. You don't. We can find people through other partners that can help us with making those contacts. But that was a good point. I had forgotten to mention that earlier, that communication also is different in the rest of the world than it is in the US sometimes.
Right. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to exit my presentation, right? And I'm going to start new share.
Okay.
Do you see my screen now with Easy Business?
We do.
Okay, great. So this is how actual Easy Business tool looks like. And I'll just show you, I was talking about alerts. You see how many alerts I just get per day. There's change in financial, company moves, executive change, or finance information updated. So you will see that in color coded. So there is quick searches, which, for example, if you want to know, like in whole database, how many company will have an email address or website address, you can do quick search, which menu gives you right here. And this is my searches, which I did here, preparing, or other searches I did. So for example, if we're gonna go to the search which I did for dried fish in September. So that's another good point that you can save your searches. For example, you worked on a project, you put a stop on it for a month or 2 months, and after you coming back and you say, I still want to do it, now I'm ready. The searches are saved for you. There's no limitation how many searches you can have, no limitation what can I mean, how many in the system you can put in. We used to have before, it was limited amount, but now it's not, technically everything is unlimited. So that's important that search is saved. It can be by your company name, and if you need to revisit or change categories or location, you can always do that. So for dried fish, I found 7-digit code of Kompass. So what I did, I just went to the system and I went to activities and I do search. You don't have to remember anything. You just do search by particular keywords. And this is what I did. You see, because I'm entering system by default, it's going to be SIC or NAICS codes. I would switch to Kompass and I put dried fish here, and system provided me with the codes. For location purposes, I didn't do anything because I wanted to see how it's going to be. So let me move that. How it's going to be globally. How many companies are there? Because it's very specific. When you go to the 7-digit code in Kompass, it means it's very specific industry. So you need to know how many companies are there. So what I did, I clicked this little icon, which allows you to do market study. So hopefully my internet gonna work now. Yeah. And I'm selecting, yes. Do you have questions?
No, that was me. That was good.
Okay, so technically here you see we can go to the point of the city. We can do it if we go into a particular state or particular region, but because now we're doing global search, I will leave countries as my criteria, and I can select different filters here. What I'm going to do, I just going to do company size total, and I confirm that. And this report going to be generated technically in a couple seconds. I mean, if it's millions of companies, it'll take a little longer. But this report you can download in Excel, and you can have it from SBDC because we will be able to provide you with that. So it technically gives you possibility to look at whole distribution of dried fish market in all countries which is available on Kompass. And it takes you technically not so long to do that. So of course you need to use the system, you need to log in, it is time consuming to doing research. If we would go to particular country and start adding more filters, let's say we want only company with websites, we want only, so I can start doing that here. So going to find my search. And you see, if I want to only producers, because some companies do both, they do producing and distributors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this to filters here. And all the numbers first is global numbers. And after I will do combination. And I'll do Kompass combination, and I'll do producers, and I'll do Kompass combination, and I'll do distributors, which means we can have a report right away. So I apologize. It's always a little slower when I do screen sharing and Zoom, but technically, if you have fast internet, it works pretty fast. And Bill can confirm that, right?
It does. It's much quicker than this. It's a combination of Zoom and running applications at the same time.
Right. So technically, now we're going to have a number for producers. If this is interest of a customer, you're looking only for manufacturers, and after 581, and rest is going to be distributors. Keep in mind that sometimes company do both. So if you want strictly producers, you can also do exclusion, which is also available in combination. We can exclude distributors from already C1. We do exclusion of distributors. And in this case, you 100% know there is no company which do both. But that's going a little more complicated. We can do it for you. So 209 companies are in distribution. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to resave the search here. So I will not lose anything. So that combination is saved. So next time I'm logged in, it's here. And system will ask you, do you want to replace it? Or you can give a new name. If, for example, you change the search. And now we can also add all kinds of filters to it, knowing, for example, if we want company data, and talking to our other points before, if company has email or website. We do have executive emails, but it's only available for United States because technically all other countries are protected. We do have tool inside. You will have to have subscription to Kompass to contact company which is under GDPR, General Data Protection, but that's other conversation. So it's like other topic. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add combination, and I'll do C1, which is producers, and I'll add company data. Depends on if what is important for me. Is it important that all the company will have website, or it's important to me if all the company will have email? So I will do company data, which going to combine both. So 167 from 209 will have website and email address. I think it's a good number. Any questions, concerns?
Nope, there's nothing in the chat box right now.
All right, so are you ready to try a live search, Rufia?
Sure.
All right, so does anybody have a search they'd like us to run today? Oh, we got plenty of responses to that. All right.
It's just a little slow internet. I apologize, but we'll try.
Okay, so Malik asked a question, and the answer is yes. So this is both from Widener's perspective, and it's broader than this too, but for today's discussion, both an import and export tool. So if you're looking for suppliers to import, we can certainly do searches based on that, as well as if you're looking for clients to export to. So we can serve both.
And I'll show you just example. Here, for example, we do have right away, you have global number, but if you go into particular country, there's exporter importer filter and there's import export region. What helps, for example, if you're going to new market and you want to deal with the companies, you want to know that we're already doing some importing or exporting in particular country, because it's easy. The chain is already open and we can just add your product to it, right? So there is filters here which show you how many total company. Of course, it's not 100% populated, but there is information how many company do export worldwide, how many company do in Western Europe and South Africa. And that's very interesting tool to use if you want to go to one of this particular market and you want to know company which already deal in business, let's say buying agents or retailers. Also, you can go by country here. Of course, numbers will be small, but if there's two companies which already dealing with United States, you want to know who it is.
Okay. So there was two questions. I think you just actually answered them. Thank you. One was from Melissa. Does it provide exporting and shipping information? So to some degree, yes, it does actually provide shipping information. You can know more about what their import-export history is, and how they go about doing business. So the answer to the question, to some degree, is yes. Not everybody has that level of information, but you certainly can find people that would provide that level of information in a search. And then back to Malik, yes. So if you're an agent, if you're helping people with import export, we would certainly be more than happy to help you with doing studies on their behalf also. So we're here at Widener again. We're funded by the state and the Small Business Administration, and we're here to get businesses up and running, and the federal government wants us exporting to create jobs. So the avenues that you present to us, certainly as long as they're legal, we're here to help. So yeah, if you came to us and said, hey, I'm an agent, I have a client who needs help with this, we're certainly going to be able to help you with that. All right, so let's see who the first one to raise their hand. Who has a search that they would like Rufia to run right now? So go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll turn on your microphone and we'll run your search. Well, I thought everybody would be excited about this offer.
With possibility, I cannot do that. So let's do challenge.
Yeah. Let's see if we can challenge Rufia. So who online here has a search that they would like to have Rufia run for us? Well, it's a shy group.
Okay, I'll just show you some information which is available, like just general information talking about how to do business,
Sure.
in other countries. For example, there is executive, right? And you see we do have executive with email address by role. This is populated, which means there is data there. It just in some countries you will not, you see it says hey, emails can be exported for executive only in United States. So which means data is here, and you can contact them through our system. In this case, email gonna go through Kompass, but it means that you have to find out more about legislations in these countries. Another important and I think very like protective for company which just starting business in registration numbers or legal form, or also date of establishment. For example, if you're going on the market which is complicated. Yes, Bill, you have a question?
Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just put my hand up because I have a search for you to run, but go ahead and finish.
So, for example, certification is important. In France, all the company have to have VAT number. So if you start dealing with a business, it's good to come and you can search by company name or just website address and see what kind of information is on Kompass available to do verification. So even if you come into the SBDC and you already have in mind company, it's good to do search to see what other locations we have, what is their registration, what is their status, which year we were established, and if it's a good company for you. We do verify companies based on legal information. So, and if company asking to be added to our database, it goes for manual verification. So there's never 100%, 99.9, but it's one of a way to protect yourself for fraud or anything like that, particularly on.
Okay, so Rufia, I have a client who would like to import motorcycle helmets, and their understanding, they've explained this to me, is that India has several manufacturers of motorcycle helmets. Can you do a search and create a list for us on motorcycle helmets coming out of India?
So first I just did helmets, protective helmets. Okay, I'm not sure if we're gonna have motorcycle as a word, but we have security protective equipment.
Motorcycle right there.
Yeah, I see. It's 695 companies globally.
Yep. We only want India though.
And we're gonna add India as a location.
Right.
And we can add India here, or I can just run report here, just to, it's gonna give perspective for your client, because if he looks in India and he finds that there's only one or two, maybe he wants to look at other, right? So what are we gonna do? I'm gonna just run global search here and download Excel. So that's gonna give me India included, total numbers, and India, 25 companies.
Yep. Okay. Can you take that search a step further and then let's go to, the contact information that can be created.
Yes, so we will, in this case, we will add India as a country. Oops. Asia Pacific. India.
India, right there. There you go.
So there's total 146,625 companies in India. I think India is very, if we add websites or email addresses, it's going to be, you will see that number is not going to change drastically. We can do that though. So we will add email address and website. India was one of the countries where you could send emails as in the United States, and legislation changed just recently.
Okay.
So there's 24 company.
Okay.
And if I click on the company, that's you're gonna see how Kompass profile looks like. So there's company information, there's phone number, company email address, website address, physical address, activity description. And you see they do distribute bike and bicycle helmets. In contact information, you will have executive, and you see they do have email, it's just hidden. So if you want to contact them from here, you just click on that and you can contact them. But you're not going to be able to download this information like actual email address. In activities, you will see Kompass codes, and we also do some other activities. And key figure, financial information, that's gonna give you possibility to see. I don't know if it's not available or it's just my internet slow. I don't see anything, so let's see in our company. Yeah, so it should be number of employee usually. So as you can see in India, we will not have reports. I don't know, Bill, if you already had experience in Europe, we have last 3 years annual reports and comparison and risk class. India doesn't have that. It's just country specific.
Right.
We will have it in US as well because information is reported and we gather it from official sources. It's not going to be last year's, maybe year before.
Okay.
But here is a list for you of 25 companies, which is the potential contact for you.
All right. Very good. You've answered my question. So who else has a search that they would like to see run?
Do you, Bill, want me to save all the searches and upload in your system after?
That'd be great. Thank you.
So if people will have more questions, you can just go to the searches which were saved.
Okay. Very good. I'm not getting any takers here, Rufia. I think they're just so impressed with the system. They don't know what to do. Very good. Well, why don't you give me back the host and I'll go ahead and get us into the intake process so everybody can see that.
Are you good now?
I am good. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So let's go back to my presentation. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right. Kristen, you're ready, or Caitlin, I'm sorry, you ready?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and walk them through this?
Okay. So my name is Caitlin, and I'm an SBDC graduate assistant for Widener. And I'm going to be briefly going over the intake process with you as I'm going to be helping manage it with Bill. So the first thing that you have to do when it comes to the intake process is to complete the research request form. Now, it is crucial with this form that you are as detailed as possible, as it is going to help us in creating the best market research report for you. We need specifics to really help in refining your search. And with that, it will, once you submit that form, it will have to be approved by a counselor, which is either Bill, myself, or another representative. And once we review your form, we will contact you. We will have a discussion, possibly ask more questions. And from there, we will accept that and we will be able to schedule you for market research. Now in this next slide that I'm going to be going over, it goes into more detail with the research form. So when you see this green highlighted box over into the right side where the research request form is, that is crucial that you fill out that information. We need that to contact you. We need that for the overall submission of that request form. Below that green box, there is the business description, and that is where you will be putting all of your detail when it comes to your business, because again, that will help us with using the Kompass tool and make sure that we use it efficiently. We want to make sure that we get you the contacts that you need, and we want that detail. Following that is the description of your research request in your own words, so explaining the research request. And with that, you will sign it and submit it. And any other information that you believe will be of benefit, that could be a benefit for us as the counselors, for learning your business, or for even when we do the market research, we would appreciate that as well. And then once you submit that, it is approved by a counselor. You have around a 2-week turnaround until we are able to get that market research report back to you.
Great. Very good. All right. So it's an easy process. We'll do the work for you. Rufia is there to help us and make sure we do a good job. So it's, let us know how we can help. Let us know how we can use this tool. Again, we've had it for a little over a month and a half now. I think, Rufia, I've already probably done 30 searches for different clients. We're finding all kinds of great information. And as I said, from time to time, we really even get into strategic issues, as I did with the client looking for surgical centers, when they realized expansion to Canada didn't make a lot of sense because there was no privately held, or very few privately held, surgical centers in Canada. So, it's the same information's available to you. We can run detailed searches down to contact information as we've demonstrated. We can give summaries of different areas so you can understand the lay of the land. And we can even bring in other partners like the U.S. Commerce Service to help us get, make contacts in places that maybe we don't speak the language or need help more with the culture, or even finding people that they have vetted that we know would be good partners for our clients. So there's a lot of things we can do with this information. And we look forward to being able to help people out. Please spread the word, and let us know how we can run a search for you and use this to get you started in your import-export journey. All right. Any questions at this point? I'm gonna just put up the contact information. I am the International Trade Specialist at Widener University SBDC, so feel free to contact me with any of your import-export questions. And you can certainly contact our guest speaker today, Rufia Blank from Kompass, with any questions you have for her also. James, any questions in the chat?
Nope, no questions in the chat.
All right. Folks, any questions before we depart? It's 11:15. I don't mind giving people back their day so they can go on and be prosperous. So there's a question. Let's see here. We got to thank you. They're very good, Malik. Feel free to contact us how we can help you. And for the rest, please have a great and prosperous day. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.